Answer this question, young man, as people are concerned. They're worried.
Oh, someone else on the show? I'm the young man. Oh.
You certainly are compared to me. That's for damn.
Thank you.
Anyway, everybody keeps asking, so what? We got Jonnu Smith. Will he even use him? And I think he won't be used. I think he will be featured. But what say you, David Furones? What is the verdict?
Yeah. Now, when you say featured, you mean targets ranging in what? How many touches?
I mean, he's the number 3 wide receiver on the team. How do you like them apples?
He's yeah. All right, number 3 is tops of what? Yeah,
catches, everything.
Yeah.
I love how people. Oh, it'll be Odell. Oh, it'll be Malik. It'll be Craycraft. No, bro. You're all missing the boat here. It's gonna be fucking Jonnu Smith, bro. He's gonna be running the ball. He's gonna be catching screens. He's gonna be going deep. He's gonna be running crossers. He's going to be featured. Obviously, not Tyreek Waddle feature, not maybe the running game 25, 30 carries for 3 guys feature, but I'm talking about like when you talk about Tyreek and Waddle, and then you say who's next featured, that's him. It's him. Something you didn't see, in other words, the last couple of years. The tight end wasn't even in the top freaking 7 of the receivers. Okay. Now he will be number 3. So that's featured in my eyes. What's the verdict for you?
I gotta say, there's a pretty good chance that Jonnu would get number 3 most targets. I mean, obviously Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, but then after that, and maybe a lot of people going into this season, like last offseason, as Odell came in, would have thought Odell would be the clear number 3, but I think just and although he should be fine for the season, we believe, even though he spent training camp entirely on PUP, but and he'll get incorporated eventually. But I think just Jonnu has a big head start as one of the newcomers in this offense in comparison. So I would put him. Yeah, I think there's a good chance, and sure, there's going to be a lot of times where he's not on the field for the run plays because you don't want to put him in those situations where he's the blocker instead of Durham Smythe or Julian Hill, who are much stronger in that aspect of their game. Yeah, and I know you're a big Julian Hill guy, as am I, as many people should be.
Well, it's see, the thing what I like about Julian Hill over Smythe is he can block. Okay, and let me tell you something about Smythe. Smythe's a good blocker, not a great blocker, good blocker. Because I've seen him mess up a couple blocks too here and there.
Yeah.
Drew's got a nasty streak to him. But at the same time, he can sell pass better than Smythe. No defense fears Durham Smythe. Whereas Julian Hill, at the moment, they don't know him, but we've watched him. This kid's got ability. And if you screw around, he'll get behind you. And all of a sudden, Tua's going to find him, and you're going to get a big play. So for me, that's why I like Julian Hill, because I think the upside of selling the pass and the run are much better. That's why.
I will say Durham Smythe in the pass game is still pretty good in the short area part of his game. I think the short routes underneath.
That's what I call him. He's a serviceable player.
Sure. Right. Yeah. That we know, but I mean, John, as far as get 3rd in targets, I could totally see that. I think Devon Achane will get a lot more incorporated into the pass game too, but then even he is going to be splitting a lot of reps in that backfield, and sometimes he might get sent out wide, and there's a variety of ways that they could use him as well. But Jonnu Smith kind of feels like he is that new toy for Mike McDaniel to just get to play with, and we've seen him experiment with him. He even showed it in a preseason game, which we would see some of that stuff in training camp and wondered if we would actually get to see it shown for everyone to just see in a game like setting in that preseason exhibition. But sure enough, he did in that first drive. So nice to see it work. Also, the one time we've seen it in a game setting as well.
So now looking back at what you saw on Tampa. in the practice. Give us something that stood out to you.
Let's see. All right. So I mostly watched the offense. So, the two different fields, especially there, you can't get like a good vantage point like we do on our screens.
I heard it's not the best situation for visual, for being able to see everything. Is that true?
At least we like the Sun Sentinel. We had two guys, so I mean, I had Perk with me, and so he was watching. Since I was going to write the backup quarterbacks, and I was watching the offense, which I saw more of Tua, and then kind of Mike White and Skylar Thompson split the backup reps a little bit, so it was kind of like Tua got about half, and then Mike White and Skylar Thompson split the other half. So, Perk was watching the defense mostly. Then when they both kind of converged and were working on the same field, got to see both. I thought in Wednesday's joint practice, both Braxton Berrios and Erica Zucon had very good days of drills. Multiple catches for each, downfield, different parts of the field, working different types of routes. There was one time where I could hear Mike McDaniel. He was watching that side of the field, and he was pretty far, like deep downfield, and in a situational setting. I think like kind of like third down. Berrios runs a very sharp out, like just runs it to perfection, creates separation, and the ball's delivered there perfectly. Taps his toes, everything is just like on point. And Mike McDaniel from way out there, he was like, "Brax." He couldn't get his attention yet, and then he goes, "Fuck yeah!" So it was just super cool to hear that. So after a couple of weeks, and we had talked about on this show where Berrios was maybe a little bit stocked down. I mean, there was that touchdown catch opportunity that he had that either it might have been deflected. I think like the defender got a little fingertip on it to alter its trajectory a little bit, making it a tougher catch. But there was a similar play like that in the joint practice where it was kind of close. Did the defender get a hand on it right before it got to Berrios? It was a throw a little bit behind from Tua, where Berrios had a step crossing over the middle, but it got closer because of the throw was a little behind. But still, a lot of plays made by both of those guys. So the two guys that we were kind of debating if River Craycraft was healthy, one of them might have to go as far as if you have a top six. But right now with the River hurt, then it seems like both are well on their way to a roster spot. And then when I saw both teams go for 2-point conversions late, so the Dolphins first team, they got a Devon Achane or 2-point conversion, a successful try, little screen, great blocking on the left side to get him through untouched. But then Calais Campbell, he had, a nasty bat down where it was just like you heard a boom when he got his big paw up on a Baker Mayfield throw over the middle, and he just sent that shit like several yards behind him. The way he batted that ball, it was incredible.
All right, so let's. I think we haven't talked about this. The Tua comments and then the reaction from Flo after that. I think we haven't had you completely after that because we talked on Tuesday.
Right.
Your thoughts on Tua's comments, but then Flo pretty much like admitting that, he did not deny anything, which is pretty brutal that you were basically trying to sabotage somebody's career.
Yeah.
And from what I know, okay, there was a major, major, major disagreement in the draft room for Tua. And the guys wanted him, but Flo didn't. And so from that moment, he held a grudge. And then he basically tried to take it out on Tua for a couple of years because he didn't get what he wanted, overall. So I'm just wondering, how did, his reaction, Tua talking about it, your thoughts on all of that?
And what did Tua ever do to you to deserve that from you, right? Like, okay, you had a disagreement in the draft room, but he's a good kid. He didn't do anything to deserve that, have it taken out on him at the end of the day. But I think for Flores,
by the way, that's why I had a problem with what Perk said, that he maximized the roster. That word maximize, when you're not playing the best QB, you didn't maximize. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of the way it is. You know, if you're Mike McDaniel and you don't stick to the run when it's working, you're not maximizing it. If you're Vic Fangio and you need to blitz Will Levis and Lamar Jackson because that's what it calls for at that moment, and you refuse, you're not maximizing. You're not using Jalen Ramsey the right way. So, you know, if Flo chose to go with other quarterbacks over Tua, then you didn't maximize. That was my point to Perk when he said that, and I was like, you know, that just doesn't jive. You know, if you're going to maximize, you play the best players. And in that Ravens game, he proved that he didn't know what the fuck he was doing because he sent this guy home all week.
Right.
He barely practiced. He was playing golf, and then on game day, Jabroni gets injured, and he comes in, and he finally, that was the moment that it all crystallized for Flo and said, wow, I'm the idiot here that keeps thinking this guy's not the best quarterback I have. And so, you know, that's where I had beef with our boy Perk on the maximizing thing. No, dude, no.
Yeah, I remember that.
I've seen Eric Spoelstra maximize his roster all the time.
Oh yeah.
Flo did not. Flo did well. He could have done even better.
Yeah, I remember that game. The whole thing was his injured finger that he sat out the previous week against Houston, which was just such awful quarterback play between Jacoby Brissett and who was starting for the Texans.
On this show, it's Jabroni Brisket.
Yeah. I gotta respect it. and then when Tua came in, and the whole question was, oh well, he can't throw the ball downfield with his finger injury, and then he hit a 30-something yard sideline pass, and Waddle. It was like, to Waddle, right? And I remember asking Flores in that post-game press conference. By
the way, it was a knuckle and a rib he had.
Yeah, he had the ribs from early in the season that then like he had to play through later. Yeah,
he had to throw a deep ball, and it was a floater. It was a total floater. I know that.
Sure,
but it got there. It was like, and it was like 40 yards.
It got there. Yeah,
it was like 40 yards. Okay, by the way, and it was with a messed up knuckle and a messed up rib. I mean, brother, if you don't respect this kid, I can't help you, dude. I can't help you. I really can't help you. He does whatever it takes, dude. Whatever it takes.
Now, from Flo's standpoint and his reaction, then I think, he stood no benefit to still sticking to his guns and countering, saying that it's totally different because it's sort of like a big brother, little brother, like when the big brother's picking on the little brother, and then the little brother complains, and the parents show up. And then they try to say, no, I didn't do anything to him. And the parents are like, what, you're calling him a liar? He has no reason to lie. Like, they believe the little brother who's getting picked on because he's not just going to say he was getting picked on for no reason. There must have been something that agitated him to go ahead and say something.
I mean,
in this case,
Tua has no bullshit in him, bro.
Exactly. So obviously, I mean, he's not just going to say that about Flo because he's the one with a vengeance over him. Like, no, like truly, he must have experienced this. He has no reason to lie, even like now, a couple of years down the road. I think a lot of people also wonder about the timing now. I mean, he was just asked that by Levitard as like the last question in a long interview, and I think Tua just he went and spoke truly what he felt. And I think the question it invoked sort of those emotions coming back out of him, even if we're a couple years removed. And he went ahead and said it, and he said it with a little bit more something to him than because he said it before. We've heard it in those press conferences, but he wouldn't want to like go too far into it. This time it kind of got him where he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let it be known a little bit. He said terrible.
You know, I think that's leadership. Believe it or not, I think that's leadership. Some people, oh no, you're writing out the coach. No, dude, no. Bad people need to get exposed because what he went through, and others, by the way, because he's not the only one. Okay, he's not the only one. I don't know if Mike Gesicki will ever talk about it, but he wasn't very nice to Mike Gesicki either. Okay, so I don't know if Mike will ever come forward and talk about it or whatever. he was a jerk to several people, but obviously with Tua, because he had a disagreement with the three guys in the front office, and he didn't want Tua and they wanted Tua, right there he took it out on Tua right from the get-go. But the thing with Tua is he's got impeccable character. So he's not going to say it if it didn't really happen.
Right.
And he's going to say it because he also wants to make sure now that he's comfortable, now that he is the leader of the team and he's paid and trusted by the franchise and all that, he wants to step forward and be a leader and call out Flo at the same time so other players don't have to go through what he went through. So the next time Flo tries to pull that shit, which I doubt he will, that the players are going to know about this and they're going to know about Tua, and they're going to they'll call him out right away for bullshit like that. So this is why he said, I have to, be better and all that other crap that he talked about. He never apologized, by the way. He never apologized at all. At any point did he ever show any kind of real remorse towards Tua. And by the way, if he ever really gave a shit, he would have reached out to Tua a long time ago. But he's got a lawsuit going on, and he uses race, not this. So he can't apologize that he is incompetent. He can't apologize that he did mistreat people. He can't apologize that the front office had reasons to fire him and why he was a detriment to the team, in other ways. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. You know what I mean? And for his case, it would have been better for him to negate it all and say, no, he's lying. I never did that. But he knows he can't, because if he does, then other players come forward and back Tua up, and then it really looks bad. So he kind of laid on the sword at the moment. But there's a lot of things on the periphery that are affecting what was going on.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much more to this because of what you just mentioned, the lawsuit there. And I think a lot of players, maybe not, I think several players. Mm-hmm.
But he says it's not incompetence, but they fired him for incompetence.
Yeah.
What Tua's talking about is incompetence.
Yeah, because he wasn't fired for his record as Dolphins coach.
No.
I mean, in fact, the first year he won too much because the team was trying to tank, and he won 5 games.
He was fired for being an asshole.
Oh yeah, right.
It was simple. He was an asshole dude. They gave you a guaranteed 5-year contract. Play Josh Rosen, lose games, we're all good. You refuse to do that. Okay, we want Tua. You refuse to do that. Wow. Okay, I want Jordan Love. Okay, the owner now gets talked into by the other owner. Hey, we could go get Brady and Peyton. You refuse to do that. Like, dude, you're a first-class dick. You're like the worst freaking employee anyone could ever hire. And then, oh no, by the way, the best part is that people don't talk about it. I know about it, but people don't talk about it. He then goes to the owner to then try to circumvent the 3 personnel guys so he can get personnel power.
Yeah.
So the 3 guys that brought you in and hired you, you now are out there with knives backstabbing them. I mean, this guy is the worst. The worst. Okay? Can he coach? Yeah, he can coach some defense. Of course he can coach some defense. He can't build an offense. He can't build an offensive staff. He can't identify quarterbacks. You know what I mean? But whatever, And he holds grudges, which,
certainly.
Bro, Spo hated Whiteside, and he had to coach him.
Yeah. No, I mean,
that was all Riley that wanted Whiteside because he has that whole love affair with the big man and all that. Yeah, it just
as the league is changing. Yeah,
that man was fired for incompetence, for being a terrible employee that fought everything that went on in that place, and so he can't give in to all of this because this actually ruins his entire lawsuit.
Right. There's too many other things surrounding him because and you got to give Flo credit for the record that he had, of course. I mean, that 2020 team to go 10-6, and sure, the schedule worked out really nicely and everything, but and then
can I break something down? Because I broke it down. You probably didn't hear it on the show.
all right, good.
You know what the real secret weapon is? Greer, Allen, and McKenzie. They're going to give you talent that automatically can win 9 or 10 games. Just ask Flo. Just ask McDaniel.
Yeah. Now, the talent is much greater now. This is unquestionable. The talent is much greater now than what Flo
had its strengths. It still had its strengths anyways. Every
the defense for sure for what he wanted to run. Yeah. Now he couldn't. What you just said, he couldn't run an offense. He couldn't build an offensive staff. It wasn't going to be sustainable. He wasn't going to be winning 10 games every year, and he would have totally Tyreek Hill would never go into this offense.
Joe Philbin won 9 or 10 games. The league is made for you to win 8 games.
Yeah. It's about taking the next step.
If you do half decent coaching, you might win 9 or 10. If you're special, you start winning 11 or 12 and 13, and you start going deep into the playoffs.
That was totally the ceiling. He hit the ceiling for sure.
Right.
What he could accomplish.
What he could accomplish.
He wasn't going to go to the next step. There was no way.
A little more if he would have played the right quarterback. If he would have started with,
he would have never hit that. Yeah.
If he would have started with Fitzpatrick just the first couple of games, right? Get through the Rams. You're really trying to sabotage somebody when you're playing them against the Rams. Like seriously, dude. Like the guys.
Be the first game.
Yeah, 9 months removed from a hip surgery. Hey, let's start you off against Michael Brockers and Aaron. Come on, kid, let's go. That'll be that's a son of a bitch right there. So what I would have done is I would have started.
He still won.
I know, but I would have started Fitz for a couple of games and then go Tua and ride it out from there on out and let him learn and support him instead of doing what he did constantly. Berate him, pull him, all that kind of stuff. Like rookies aren't going to make mistakes. And he still won more than he lost. He still threw more touchdowns than interceptions in the worst environment possible.
Yeah, that environment. And I'll tell you that 2021 season, he had that 7-game losing streak. He was certainly gone at that point because there was that famous Buffalo Halloween game where it was like 90 minutes.
Gone. I already knew he was gone.
Yeah, exactly. It was like 90 minutes before he ever came out for his media session. And teams when they're on the road after the game, they're trying to just get the fuck out of there. It's not like they're hanging around. It's not like a home game. So like it was really like 90 minutes from the end of the game before we got to see Flores. I remember I drafted up a tweet like thinking someone from Dolphins personnel was going to come out and say, actually, Brian Flores' post-game news conference has been canceled because he actually was just fired. So I drafted a tweet just to be ready in case that scenario occurred. And it didn't that day, but that he was in there just really, I guess, lamenting, just soaking in whatever was communicated behind closed doors in that road locker room or in some private corner room of the road facilities that they get at a Highmark Stadium over there.
They had enough of him already at that point.
Yeah.
They had enough of him already at that point. At that point, they were done with him. It was just a matter of finishing out the season. And remember the 7-game losing streak, those were all the tough teams on the schedule. They won the games in the back end against all the weak opponents.
Even then, they lost to the Jaguars in London. Urban Meyer, that was his one win as coach of the Jaguars. And by the way, on defense, giving up
lose to stanky fingers. You know what it is to lose to stanky fingers? I mean,
and at home against Atlanta, when they didn't take the post-London bye coming back, so they had a home game against Atlanta and lost on a Younghoe Koo kick, which, by the way, Tua threw 4 touchdowns in that game, and they still lost. So it was Brian Flores' defense giving up all this to Kyle Pitts and them against Atlanta and the late drive, and then allowing the Jaguars with 4 seconds left, 1 timeout, the one play that could get them into field goal range to kick the game-winning field goal was a quick seam route up the middle to get the necessary yardage for a long field goal. They gave up the only thing they could, because even a sideline play would have taken too long. So they prioritized playing the sideline. I remember this vividly. Instead of the middle of the field, which actually with the timeout left, middle of the field, quick timeout, that was the only way Jacksonville could get into field goal range to win it, and that's exactly what they allowed to occur. So
yeah.
So even those 2 weak opponents in that stretch still lost those games.
Yeah. It's to me, it was just a guy that he got fired for the right reasons. You know what I mean? And is he maybe a coordinator in this league? Sure. I don't think he'll ever get a head coaching job. I really don't. I think the league is doing what they've done now to kind of take the high road out of all of this in the lawsuit. Like, no, what are you talking about, bro? We still hired you. And all this stuff now will come out. I wonder if
and he's got a coordinator job. And yeah.
I wonder if Tua will be called in to testify.
There's something.
Well, you just talked about how he treated you. Well, then this helps our case that we fired him because he was a person that wasn't treating people the right way, which he wasn't, by the way, behind the scenes and in that building, you know. So the word I used was he was running roughshod through the building. That's the word I use constantly. So that'll be interesting if Tua actually gets brought into this lawsuit by the NFL.
Here's the other thing I remember was Brian Flores saying on the I Am Athlete podcast, that famous interview he did, say, ask Tua. Well, Tua was asked. And he was asked shortly after that moment, and then also now he spoke a little bit more to it this time that he was asked. And this is 2 years removed, so you can tell those feelings still linger very much.
I'm with you there. All right. What are you looking for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I just the end of the roster sort of battles for those last roster spots. I want to see who makes a lasting impression among several groups, like those DBs. And I think we know what will happen at wide receiver now at this point. Between those offensive linemen, just trying to solidify the starting guard spots. Who really works well in that setting to solidify themselves there. Defensive line and in the front seven. So all those areas, who's going to take those last spots? Maybe a special teams play is what clinches it for somebody, just impressing Danny Crossman on that unit. And we know those end of the roster guys, they need to be able to contribute on special teams. So maybe who stands out in that area of the game just to seal those last spots. And of course the backup quarterbacks. Which one has a better game? And then if it's also the same thing, Skylar Thompson getting in first ahead of Mike White. And then what that means for both of them in their quest for QB2.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, man. All right, so we'll see if and for me, it's kind of like hopefully Storm Duck or somebody like that doesn't get injured, because you're not going to see any of the frontline guys.
Yeah.
No?
Mike said we'll see some starters, but I think like many of them that have their spots solidified won't. I think he might be talking more about like those O linemen that are trying to get those guard spots. I think those might be the starters that we do see. But aside from that, I don't think. Yeah, I think you want to keep a lot of your top guys out of harm's way and just get through this last preseason game.
Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, enjoy the football. Enjoy the weekend. Hey, by the way, did you go to Burns Steakhouse?
No, I haven't had a chance to go to Burns. I had a dinner with my cousin. It was much more chill last night, and then also Wednesday night we had a beautiful dinner with Dolphins communication staff at a very fine restaurant in its own right, the Pearl in Tampa downtown, which I think is like a newer place. People I know from around here have heard about it, but.
Right. Ybor City, is that where you guys went?
No, it was like downtown Tampa. But yeah, very nice, like 3-course meal. Oh, the desserts they brought out at the end.
You will regret not going to Burns.
I got to get to Burns one, and then tonight, obviously, I'm at the game, so it's kind of like And Tuesday, I just driven in, tired, and was just trying to get some Chipotle before bed. But Yeah. One day I got to get to Burns.
Chipotle Burns.
Well, understand, I'm trying to just get a quick meal and get to my hotel room.
I got you.
I had a long day that day. I was on with you before I drove out there. I was in Miami Gardens covering a practice. Drove out there. Yeah, man. I just wanted some Chipotle and to hit my hotel room.
All right. What steak did I tell you to get?
Ooh,
a house.
Huh?
A house?
No, you said something else.
Well, it's like a house. It's like a place to stay.
Ooh, all right, tell me again, because if I see the words on the menu, I know I'll remember.
Monty Python movie called The Life of. You're probably too young for that reference. Brian.
Oh, that's why I was gonna be at Brian, but Brion.
Brian, it's called what?
But Brion, right?
Right, and
that was the second word.
And then the second word, the home. It's a you stay at a chateau.
Chateaubriand. There we go. Also, I know I could always just reach out to you when I forget again.
We got Manny is doing Chateaubriand. He's testing it. All right. Get the hell out of here. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy football. We'll catch up on Tuesday, my brother. Thank you.
Sure. Sounds good. On cut day.
All right. Don't forget Welt Rheaume, man. Jeff Welt, Daniel Rheaume. By the way, that was a nice spot with Jeff there. Bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage. These guys are bulldogs. They are the left and right tackle that you're looking for. And you don't want to call the insurance companies because they send their adjusters and they're working for them, not for you. Welt Rheaume has their own adjusters. So you have any property damage to your home, your business, you call Welt Rheaume. They send their adjusters and they take on the insurance company. You don't have to deal with it. 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.